Earlier we looked at the book Sky Tree, and I read you the book by Thomas Locker. And when we finished the book, I said to be thinking about what kind of tree you would like to paint. And so I'm just going to focus on this first tree. It looks like a pretty day and it's summertime. And I'm not going to try to make it look exactly like Thomas Locker's. It's going to be my own, and you should do the same, make your own tree. You can use watercolor pencils or just regular color pencils. I'm going to show you how to use the watercolor pencils to start, and then we're going to be working with regular watercolors. Again, if you don't have these items, you can always use what you have. Crayons or regular color pencils will do fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start drawing a tree using, I'm going to draw the hill first, using this green pencil. And this is a watercolor pencil, so let's say if I were to color this just like you would color any picture, and then I dip my pencil in the water, it will start to bring out the color even more and spread the color around because it's a watercolor pencil. So I'm just going to briefly show you how the watercolor pencils work in case some of you want to try that. If you don't have a watercolor pencil, that's fine. You can just use regular color pencil or go straight into painting with your watercolors. So you're going to want to get off a lot of the paint on the edge of your cup and then go into your green paint if you would like your grass to be green. That's a nice vibrant green. And the first thing I'm doing is just painting this hill this green color. But when you look at grass outside, it's not always solid green. What other colors do you see in grass sometimes, depending on the seasons? Sometimes there's some yellows, even like a blue tint, or even brown sometimes, depending on the grasses that we're looking at. So I will come back to that hill with more colors later. And the tree needs to look like it's actually planted on the hill. So instead of putting it right on the top line, I'm going to bring it onto the hill a little bit and bring the tree trunk up. So the roots will show just a little bit at the bottom of the tree if you want to draw the roots and then come up with the trunk. And branches normally come out on all sides of the tree, and then they make another branch or two. And since we're going to have leaves, you don't necessarily have to finish the whole branch. See how I didn't go back into the water, I just went back into the wet watercolor? That is fine to do that as well. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of let my branches go in different directions and make two coming off of one long branch, and you want to do some going in another direction, and you can decide how you want your branches to look. If you want your tree trunk to be thin or thick, that's up to you. And since I did these roots on top of the green, it is going to kind of mix in with that. So I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll probably go back over that once it dries. Okay, so now that we have the basic shape of the tree, which is a tall vertical shape with other branches coming off of that, next I'm going to think about the foliage. I want to add other colors into this as well, so we'll work on that. So if you have a brush that is, a medium-sized brush like this one, that would be perfect, or just whichever brush you have, and dip it into the green. So think of the light as coming from above, and then the foliage or the leaves underneath are going to be a little darker or in shadow. Okay, so I'm dabbing or pointing my brush tip onto the paper, and I want to fill in this area, covering the branches with the leaves. So you can still see the branches through, but I want this tree to look nice and full, just like the sky tree. And at the same time, it is our own tree. And you see little bubbles on the surface. Those will dry and just kind of blend in. But I'm just tapping the brush, and when you run out of color, you can go back in and get more. And I can twirl the brush a little bit as I tap. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of blue into the green because I want to do a darker area that's shaded under here. Do you see the difference? This is a darker area because there's going to be shadows or shade under the tree, and then at the top I want it brighter. So what I could do at the top is I could even add yellow into my green where the sun is shining down, and that yellow will kind of blend into the green too. Now, you have to have patience when you're working with watercolors because they do need to dry. So since I have the basic shapes of the hill, the trunk, and the leaves, I need to leave those alone and let them dry for a little while. In the meantime, what I can do is I want to create a sky. In the sky tree book, there's white clouds, and then there's blue in and around those white clouds. And so I want to try to do that as well. Clean the paintbrush really well and get the water from the paintbrush back into the cup so it's not dripping. Go into your color blue. Okay, that's a nice blue, but what if I want to change it to something a little different? I just went into purple, so I'm doing kind of a violet blue sky here because I don't want it to look too much like my tree. And see that little spot that I did on the trunk? What you can do is get a clean paintbrush, and since that's still wet, I can fix that just like that. So now my sky is not going over top of my tree. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of it white and kind of create the shape of clouds. And then I'm going to go and do blue. I don't want to try to go into the tree with the blue because that's going to mess up the colors I just created. So I'll go around the tree with blue, leaving some of the area white, like I said, for clouds. And in the sky tree, there's a little bit of other grass or little shrubs here. So since this has started to dry, I may go in and do some grasses just at the top of the hill. Or you could do a bush or a shrub. I'm just doing little lines. And you can go back and add, like I said, blues for shadows or yellows for lighter areas. I don't want the blue to look like my sky, so I want to blend it with the green grass. You could even paint flowers if you wanted to, or something else. It's up to you. Maybe let some of the grasses kind of stick up above the others. So far I have my painting done in just that amount of time without any blending or details. And so later in this lesson I will show you how to blend, because not just brown, but I want to have some other colors in my trunk, and not just plain blue, but maybe some other blended colors, and the same thing in the grass. But that is the way I wanted you to get this started.